Welcome to this explainer. Today we're uncovering something absolutely fascinating, a really brilliant piece of educational design. We're going to look at how an 8th grade math curriculum secretly operates as a high-stakes psychological obstacle course. And you know, it's designed not just to teach math, but to teach something that actual adults in executive boardrooms struggle with every single day, making decisions under intense uncertainty.
So let's dive right into this. How exactly do you teach an 8th grader to outsmart their own brain? I mean, teaching a middle schooler whose brain is currently running on wild hormones is no small feat, right? Well, the answer lies in an intense 11-day classroom simulation called the BID. It's this incredibly clever program that completely skips the boring lectures. Instead, it forces students to confront their own mental blind spots in real time, relying on specific data and scenarios where the stakes actually feel real.
The setup for the BID is deceptively simple. You trap them in a middle school gym renovation. The students are told they're acting as a student bid evaluation committee, and their official job is to pick a contractor to renovate their middle school's gym over the summer. Now, a gym renovation is literally the perfect trap. It involves massive budgets, it sounds straightforward, and absolutely everyone has an opinion on it. But underneath all that, it's an engineered snare, carefully constructed to test the student's discipline at the exact moment when the easy answer is dead wrong.
Section 1. The Middle School Gym Trap.
Right out of the gate, the students face a major conflict. They aren't just looking at dry numbers. They're evaluating complex, highly persuasive pitches. On one side, you've got Apex Pro builds. It looks like an exciting, absolute steal at just $172,500 up front. Plus, it's pitched by this warm, charismatic rep named Marcus who casually drops that he's a former parent at the school. On the other side is Steady Line Construction. It seems way too expensive at $192,000. And worse, it's presented by Linda, a quiet, hyper-focused structural engineer who just lets her incredibly boring, methodical data do the talking. Naturally, almost every single teenager in the room leans toward Marcus and Apex.
Section 2. Anatomy of the Illusion.
By day 2 of the simulation, the curriculum asks the students to step back and do a little bit of math. They have to calculate the 3-year projected cost for these contractors. That means factoring in each company's historical average for what the industry calls change orders, which are basically just surprise fees that pop up after a project starts. When they pull the historical data, they find that Apex averages a massive $22,000 in surprise change orders. Meanwhile, SteadyLine averages only $2,500. So the students sit down, add each contractor's average surprise fees to their initial upfront bid, and suddenly, a stunning mathematical illusion is revealed.
And boom! Here is the brilliant aha moment of the trap. That flashy $19,500 upfront savings with Apex, it entirely vanishes. When you actually do the math, the flashy Apex and the boring SteadyLine tie perfectly at exactly $194,500 over 3 years. It's incredible. The flash was literally hiding the financial exposure. The slick marketing budget was just a smokescreen for the risk.
Section 3. Triggering 7 cognitive biases.
But here's the kicker. The math they just did is simple addition. The real challenge is that this simulation is psychologically engineered to make students fall for the risking option by triggering specific human tendencies. Across 11 days, the curriculum plays the students like an illusionist. It deliberately subjects them to a calculated emotional arc where 7 distinct cognitive biases peak at very specific moments. On day 3, the order they read the bids subtly anchors their ranking. On day 5, a charismatic pitch tests their authority bias. By day 7, the visible room majority triggers the bandwagon effect. And on day 8, the devastating sunk cost fallacy hits them right in the face.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is what educators call a discovery-first design. Think about why corporate compliance training often fails for adults. It's usually just some boring seminar listing terms, right? Well, here, students actually feel these mental pulls under pressure, and the curriculum refuses to give them the vocabulary to name the biases until the final day. If you hand an 8th grader the word anchoring on day 3, they just file it away as a useless vocabulary term. But if you let them feel the pull of a terrible decision and then hand them the word for it a week later, they own that concept for life.
Section 4. Breaking the bias loop.
The genius of the BID isn't just springing the trap. It's handing students the exact protocols and tools they need to escape these psychological pitfalls in real time. Just look at how they dismantle the bandwagon effect on day 7. Before any group discussion happens, students must rank their choices in total silence. They write it down, independently protecting their own judgment. Then they do a structured peer critique focusing strictly on the evidence. Only after all that do they see the visible room majority poll. Sequence is absolutely everything here.
If the visible poll happened first, the quiet students would simply conform to the loudest voices. Silence is used as a powerful weapon against groupthink.
Then comes day 8, and the ultimate test arrives. Brutal new public records drop out of nowhere. Students suddenly find out that Apex, their favorite flashy pick, has a miserable 62% on-time rate and 2 settled lawsuits. Meanwhile, the boring steady line has a 96% on-time rate and 0 lawsuits in 12 years. This forces the students into a corner. They have to integrate heavy, undeniable evidence that completely destroys their preconceived favorite. At this point, the students have invested over a week into defending Apex. The sunk cost fallacy is literally screaming at them to dig their heels in. To break this panic, the teacher deploys a brilliant reset question. If this were day 1 and you saw only what you know right now, which would you choose? Now, I want you to really remember this phrase, because it isn't just an 8th grade trick, it is a profound adult life hack. It brilliantly clears their minds of the sunk cost, teaching them that changing your mind in light of new evidence is an upgrade, not a defeat.
Section 5. Boring choice wins. As the students navigate all these traps, they learn a massive real-world lesson. The boring choice wins. SteadyLine dominates on every single measurable metric: track record, safety, on-time percentage, long-term costs. It only loses on upfront price and presentation polish. And you know, it's the exact same logic adults use when realizing that a slow, boring index fund is structurally safer than a trendy crypto stock, or why a reliable sedan outlasts a flashy sports car. The structurally strongest option is rarely the exciting one.
By diving into the fine print, the students realize that boring, methodical clauses actively protect the school from long-term catastrophic risk. A flashy pitch is basically like a flimsy umbrella in a hurricane, while boring, methodical clauses are a solid steel shield. A 1-year warranty with Apex looks totally fine on paper, until you remember you're building a gym floor meant to last 20 years. SteadyLine's capped fees and 5-year warranty are agonizingly dull to read, sure, but they actively absorb risk for the client. Section 6. Grading reasoning, not picks. By day 9, the students must sign their final binding recommendation, which brings us to the most surprising twist of the whole explainer. On day 10, their 20-point final reflection requires an intense level of thought. They have to write a steelman argument. That means they must articulate the single strongest possible case against their own recommendation and then defeat it. It is honestly awe-inspiring that 8th graders are practicing a cognitive skill that many adults actively avoid. They also have to admit to a bias they actually felt. But incredibly, the choice of contractor itself isn't graded at all.
And this beautifully illustrates the ultimate philosophy of the simulation. Grade the reasoning, never the pick. 2 students can choose completely different contractors, one might even pick the Apex trap, and both can get perfect scores, as long as they honestly wrestled with the day 8 evidence, provided strong counter-arguments, and showed profound self-awareness of their own thinking. They succeed. The grade is all about metacognition. It's about understanding your own thought process, not about guessing the teacher's favorite answer.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question. The next time the cheapest price flashes at you, or the most confident, charismatic voice in the room leans one way, will you stop and ask what it actually costs? When you're faced with a flashy, persuasive option out there in the real world, do you have the tools to outsmart your own brain, or are you going to let the flash hide the trap? Thanks for exploring this with us. Stay curious.